Welcome back to another episode of Pink and Purpose, where pink meets purpose. I'm your girl, Latora Curry, and we are doing it here every Wednesday, 6 p.m. We're out here writing our pink print. We are healing, becoming, and we are growing one step at a time together. Listen, do me a favor, hit that notification bell, like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We are doing this every Wednesday at 6 p.m. and I don't want you to miss it. Join me on my pink sofa. Today, I am about to tell y'all where it all began, okay? The reason that I'm healing, the reason that I'm having to start over and become, it didn't start at 40. It started long before 40. So we're going to go back a little far to my childhood, how I grew up, where I came from, who is Beautifully Designed, and how it even began. I probably remember my childhood as early as maybe 11 or 12. A lot of things before that were a bit of a blur. I can remember bits and pieces of my childhood, but I remember being a normal kid. I remember being with my parents, my grandparents, my cousins, my family, and being that normal child. Around 10, 11 is where I started to remember a lot more. Things started to come back. I grew up as a PK, a preacher's kid, but we started in a church. It was like a cult. We didn't quite follow tradition when it came to religion. We followed more of a 7 Day Adventist type of teaching, where you couldn't go outside from Friday sundown to Sunday sundown. We had a week of, days of unleavened bread, Passover, things like that, where you had to like get all of the bread out of your house. I remember my mom vacuuming the sofa and getting all of the breadcrumbs out of the couch. I remember going to foot washing services where we would wash each other's feet. I remember going to the feast 2 weeks out of every single year. My family traveled out of town to go to what we call the feast, where it would be a lot of days of a big congregation getting together and listening to the sermon, singing hymns, not real gospel, but just hymns from what I remember. But it was that gospel for that tradition. They had their own cheerleading team, their own basketball team. I mean, they were pretty huge. I mean, they were all over the world. I mean, I've traveled to St. Petersburg. We went to Florida, different parts of Florida, Virginia. I remember having to get my work from school and traveling 2 weeks out of every year. I didn't quite understand it. I didn't have a relationship with God at that time, but I remember following in the footsteps of my parents, and all of my friends were doing the same thing. This is what a normal childhood was to me at the time. Life as a PK had its perks, it had its challenges, but most of all, the spotlight was on you. So anything that I did was highlighted. Anything that I said was very much so judged, because you had to live a perfect life. You had to be Little Miss Perfect or you'd embarrass your family. Well, things weren't so perfect at a point in my life. Things were happening to me that I didn't understand. My innocence was taken from me at a young age by male and female relatives. At that point, that changed my childhood. That changed how I viewed things. That changed the innocence that was snatched from me. And that began to be a huge stamp in my memory. I remember feeling uneasy. I remember feeling confused. I remember at that time just not understanding what was happening to me. But that was an era of life where things kind of just got dealt with under the table, under the rug. They were dealt with, but under the rug, to the point where you didn't speak about it. You didn't really get counseling then. You didn't really get help to understand the things that you were going through, like it was normal after so much of it. So I began to process it my own way. The little girl that I was no longer. For a while I was a mute. I was quiet. I didn't speak. I didn't talk. I didn't express my feelings. I just dealt with it. I held it in. And I felt like if I be quiet about it all, this will make me normal. If people don't know what's going on, then they won't begin to think that something's wrong with me, even though I think something's wrong with me. I know that that's where that began. That mechanism that I adopted, that, hey, let's just keep it quiet and don't say anything. If it doesn't look like something, people won't notice. That is where I begin to fail myself as a child in leaning to my own understanding. And that's not what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to express how I felt in those moments, but I didn't. I suppressed and I held it in, and I began to normalize it. And because I normalized it, I began to operate in those confusing moments. Still going to church, still listening to the words that were coming out of my dad's mouth, out of the pastor's mouth. And I remember not really believing any of it because I didn't understand how God could let things happen to me if he loved me so much. But I began pretending. I think I even got most Christ-like teen awards and things like that from church because I started at an early age pretending things didn't hurt. That began to speed up my thought process of things that I probably shouldn't have been thinking of, but it opened my eyes to certain aspects of life, sinful things that I probably shouldn't have been thinking about at such a young age, but I was because it happened to me already. And it was never really explained. I never understood what it all meant, but it had me wondering what life was like in those areas. I was afraid of it more than anything of guys because of how I knew that they could hurt me. Not so much females. I wasn't afraid of them. In fact, I clinged to them more because I felt like they couldn't hurt me. But then I started wanting to date guys that could protect me. So I started looking at bad boys. I started looking at the guys who looked the strongest, the meanest, the bullies of the world, because I knew that if I could get the attention of one of them, these type of things wouldn't happen to me. So I began compromising and looking for love in the wrong places, because back then the church would tell you all the things that they thought you should know about what to do when your child has been abused in that way. They tell you, cut off the love. Don't hug so tight. Don't let them sit on your lap. Don't kiss them. They're going to get confused. They're going to think that that's supposed to happen. Well, for me, I internalized that as because of what happened to me, I'm not loved anymore. And without getting a proper understanding, I took it into my own thoughts. Fast forward to getting older, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now I'm going to regular schools and being around friends and having different influences. See, when you're in the church and all of your friends are doing the same thing, you have no desire. That's like being introduced to something new that you never knew before, because I was only allowed to go to friends' house that was in the church. Those were the only type of friends that could come spend a night. And we were all learning and doing the same thing. So it wasn't so weird or different. You didn't feel different. But then when I started to expand my reach and I had friends from high school who weren't in the church and they were doing different things, I felt less than. I felt different. This again began to attack my confidence because now I don't feel like I fit in. I definitely don't fit in a school where everybody's able to curse and listen to rap music and dance and be free to do things that you only saw on TV. And these kids were doing it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to start to learn to do these things if I'm going to fit in. If I'm going to have friends, if I'm going to not be bullied, if I'm going to look like the rest of the kids, I'm going to have to learn how to do the things that the rest of them are doing. Destruction is what it's called. I remember having my first car at 16 and I skipped school. But see, this is what I didn't tell you. I got saved at a young age. I got saved at 11. When you get saved and you make a commitment to God, things change. You can no longer really do the things that others are doing and get the same consequences, right? So I called myself skipping school, had my car, with my friends. I messed around and let one of them drive and we got in a car accident. Y'all know I was so afraid to make that call to my dad when we got in that car wreck. And on top of that, I moved the vehicle. It was our fault. We hit someone. And then I got in the driver's seat, switched seats, and moved the car from the accident scene. Jail waiting to happen. But the grace of God saved me. I didn't go to jail that day. But I rather went to jail than to get the reaction I got from my father. Pastor, his daughter, scene of an accident, skipping school, supposed to be the perfect angel. Nope, definitely in a car wreck while I'm supposed to be in school. Terrible. But those were the consequences of things that I would do. Other people would do it and nothing would happen. But as soon as I make one of those mistakes, the light shined on me. Another instance, invited to a party across the street from the school. Now I wanted to go bad, but something was pulling on me saying, no, you know what? I shouldn't go. But I want to go. I'm going to find a way. Asked my dad, Dad, can I go to a party? A house party? Across the street from the school? No, absolutely not. Oh, I planned my escape. I was going to go anyway. Little do he know, I'm going to sneak out and go. I forgot what happened. I didn't get to go. I think I couldn't get a ride. The car was full. And the next morning, a young lady lost her life. She got shot in the head by a bullet, died. Gone. Someone's child gone. Well, I say that was the Holy Spirit saving my life. My dad said no, I was going to be defiant. But had I went to that party, that could have been me. I could have been the one that didn't make it, that got shot in the head, but God, right? So at a young age, I made a commitment to God, but I wanted to backslide because I didn't understand fully what commitment I was making. But I was trying to find myself. I was trying to fit in. I wanted to be like somebody because I already felt so different. My dad was strict. Things happened to me at a young age that I didn't understand. We pulled ourselves away from family. We were very, very distant for a while because of my dad's work in the church and things that he was doing. It pulled us away from a lot of things. I remember being close to my family, being close to my cousins and hanging with them and being with them so much to all of a sudden I'm not able to see them as much. I didn't understand. Nothing was explained. Back then, you do what you were told. You don't ask questions. You just do. Well, to a child who doesn't understand things and they're just doing, they're putting their own interpretation into what they think is going on. So because I didn't understand, I decided, okay, well, I'm going to have to figure it out, trying everything that I could try, doing everything that I could do. I mean, you name it, I've tried it, getting drunk with my friends, going to different parties in Buckhead, going to the club. I've done it. I've done all of it. I've gotten high. I've done the things that I thought that I needed to do to fit in. I was masking. I wanted to be someone different. When my friends did it, I wanted to do it. I didn't care about being a PK. They say we the worst ones. That may have been true. I was terrible. My dad taught me how to drive. My grandfather taught me how to drive at 13. By 15, I was still in the car. I was taking the car and going to hang out. I remember a time, again, we go back to telling you that my consequences were never the same as my friends. Never the same. I steal the car, go out to the club where I'm not supposed to go. I think I told my dad I was at a friend's house. We go down to the club. I think it was Club Envy. It was downtown at the time. I park at the Varsity and my car gets towed. Yes, the car that I stole, and I'm sneaking out. Now me and about 5 friends are at the top of the street with no car. How are we going to get home? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Destruction. Got one of my friends, because once you tell one lie, you got to tell another one. I began lying. I began doing things that were compromising to who I was supposed to be anyway. Then again, I didn't know who I was. I was trying to fit in. I needed friends. I needed to feel like I was fitting in somewhere. I no longer fit into my church because I had done things that the church would see as very, very unclean, and things were done to me that I thought meant the same thing. See, I didn't understand then that when it wasn't your choice, your decision, it doesn't count as when you do make the decision to do those things. I looked at it all the same. So at this point, I've already done wrong. I've already messed up. So what's the point? I might as well continue down the road of destruction. So I'm lying, I'm sneaking out, I'm stealing cars, I'm doing all kind of stuff that would be frowned upon as a PK, but still going on. I'm in the choir. I'm telling you, I'm doing all the things that I'm supposed to do. I looked the part, but I wasn't acting the part. And inside, I began damaging myself completely. I began needing attention, needing love, needing to fit in so bad and needed so much from people that I started losing myself to be just like them. I did. I started wanting to compromise myself. Didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't feel loved. So anybody that made me feel desired, you got my attention. You got me. And that's where life for me began to spiral in different relationships, going through the phase of understanding that I may not be able to get pregnant because of things that happened to me when I was younger, unable to carry a baby to full term, depressed. Then I began feeling like I needed to try. I needed to try to see if I could. That was incorrect. That was wrong. Going through failed relationship where I felt like the moment my boyfriends broke up with me, they got with the next person and were so happy, got married, they were in love. These people were perfect. Why me? Why wasn't I good enough? Because back then you were taught to get married, to love, to be with your husband until death do you part. Well, I was 17, 18. I thought that was supposed to happen for me, but it didn't. I would get a boyfriend. I do all I can to make him happy. And then he'd break up with me. And the very next woman he'd be with, they end up married. So after my first boyfriend broke up with me, got married, my second boyfriend broke up with me the same exact way that my first boyfriend broke up with me. Of course, because I told him. He then got married. Then moving on to college, I meet a guy in college. I think, oh my God, this is the one, because at this point I'm mixing what I've learned in church, what the world is telling me, and I'm mixing my own insecure thoughts. So I began to let this man take me through the ringer. Anything he asked of me, I did. Whatever it was, I did. To the point where I even left the college dorm and we went and got an apartment together. And I was working. I don't know what he was doing during the day, but I was working. But every day that I would come home, he's playing video games. So clearly I was paying the bills. But it didn't matter because he wanted me. Somebody wanted me. Anything he asked me to do. I mean, he'd ask me to go visit my parents on the weekend. And I would do that, knowing he'd have a girl in there or doing something of the sort while I was gone, but I still did it. And I knew it. And I came on back and acted like I didn't know it. I turned a blind eye. I was desperate. I was desperate for someone to choose me, someone to love me. Then I thought I was grown. And when he wasn't paying me any type of attention, I go and meet someone else. I met someone else. At this point, I'm older, I'm grown. I'm on a bus route. I didn't have a car then because all my money was going to the rent. And stupidly, I'm giving him the rent and thinking he's paying it and he's giving it to someone else. We're going to get into that in a minute. But I meet this guy on the bus that I'm riding. And I'm, thinking he likes me. He invites me out on a date. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not appreciated at home. So the next time he sends me away, I'm going on a date with this man. He sent me away, sure enough. I go on a date. This man takes me back to his house. Now, this isn't the plan, but we go back to his house. He cooks dinner. And now I done seen all the movies. I'm hip to all understanding. Okay, nope. You're not drugging me. I'm watching you. I watch him open a bottle of Hypnotic, brand new. He opens it. He takes ice cubes out the freezer, and I watch him pour my drink. Mind you, I'm holding this drink hostage. I'm not giving it up. I'm going to hold this drink. One drink. I was a lightweight then. And because I didn't see him do anything to the drink, I trusted it. Well, to my surprise, because see, I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. I put myself in a compromising position because he didn't need to put it in the drink because he froze the date rape drug in the ice cube. So when he put the ice in my drink and it melted, guess what I was drinking? Passed out. Can't remember anything. When I woke up, he was gone. I remember being hazy, leaving out of a random house that I didn't know anything about, and walking to the nearest bus stop to get back on the bus. To go back to the toxic relationship that I was already in, damaging myself more. Damaging myself to a point that I felt unrepairable. I felt unrepairable. I didn't know what happened to me, but I know what happened to me. I know something happened to me. Couldn't tell you what. I remember getting on the bus and I remember going back home and I remember literally passing out near the door. One of my former friends found me and helped me back into my apartment. At this point, shame all over my face. That too was my fault because I shouldn't have been there. See, nowhere in there am I talking to people. And I'm telling people because I felt like I was ashamed. I couldn't tell people this. I couldn't let people know what was going on with me because it was my fault. And they're going to only judge me now. It's worse. Fast forward to going to the hospital, getting checked out, making sure I was okay, understanding that I had made mistakes and that at this point I need to clean it up. God protected me. God continued to protect me through all of this. I remain healthy. I remain okay. I remain not beat up, killed, bruised, anything. I was pride hurt, hurt, self-esteem gone. At this point, I feel terrible. I begin to feel like I was nobody. I was nothing. I get out of the hospital, go back home, and there's a notice on the door that says you have 3 days to get out. Where was he? All his stuff packed up, gone. I guess his parents came and got him. I don't know. But I found myself sitting in an apartment full of stuff and not a clue of what I was going to do in college. So I had to call up a friend, borrow some money, get a U-Haul, moved all of my stuff that I had by myself into this U-Haul, and had to get a hotel for a few days because I didn't know where to go, didn't know what to do. Put all my stuff in storage, and from there, the journey went to me moving around, trying to figure it out, having to go back home. It was the first time I went back home. And after that, it went left. It went left because I still didn't take the teachings and understandings that I was given. At this point, I had to survive. I had officially accepted survival mode. And that's what I was operating out of. Confidence broken because now I'm wondering what's wrong with me. Why wasn't I chosen? Why wasn't I good enough? Why did I get broken up with? Why didn't you love me? When you're in survival mode, logic is gone. You are all emotional. Imagine a child out here trying to figure out how to live, pay rent, pay bills all by themselves. Sometimes you might get one who's a little street savvy and can figure it out. But for the most part, you're going to have one that's screwing it all up, messing things all up to the point where it's spiraling. It's going left. It's going worse. So now I'm making all the wrong moves, buying cars that I can't afford, figuring out how I'm going to live, where I'm going to go, how I'm going to eat, what am I going to do? I didn't know, but I continued spiraling and spiraling, changing myself more and more to get what I needed to get. I worked, I maintained a place, but I tore up my credit. I couldn't get the good things. I was in the slums, living in the hood. I was taking what I could get. Wasn't able to keep it. I probably didn't pay the rent after the first 2 months and had to move, again, because I got put out, evicted. I didn't know what I was doing. I was young and very ignorant. But that's a little of my story so far. I'm going to share more with you next week. So do me a favor. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you can relate to any of the things that I basically said today. This started my journey of damaging myself, but it's part of the reasons that I made so many mistakes leading up to today. Leading up to where I am right now, I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm correcting them. And it takes for me to first identify that I had a problem in order to fix it. So don't feel like you're alone because everybody has a story. Everybody has gone through something. Everybody has felt some type of pain, have mass pain, have done what they had to do to survive. But we don't have to continue surviving. We can heal and we can grow from the point of that pain. We can turn our pain into purpose. And that is what I'm choosing to do. I want to turn all of my pain into purpose. And I'm determined to do that. It starts with me. I appreciate all the support and the love that I'm getting. I will continue telling my story right here on my pink sofa, where I'm out here writing my pink print. I'm out here deciding how my story goes. I'm not letting anyone else decide that for me anymore. I'm deciding that. And you can decide it too. So this will be a continuous thing until next week, y'all. This is your girl Latour. This is Pink and Purpose, where pink meets purpose. And we are out here writing our pink print. We're doing it our way, God's way, but we always add that pink sass. Until next week, y'all.